Okay, let's do it.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's 7 o'clock on a Wednesday. That means it's time for Sci-Fi Distilled. Hello, Mary Beth. How are you?
Hello, I'm awesome. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Well, as can be expected, my dad used to always say.
Yeah.
So, hey, Bill, how are you? Hey, so we are continuing Star Wars month. This time we get to talk about all the things we love. Last week it was stuff we didn't like. This stuff, it's all the things we like, which is quite a bit. So
Which is
we
a
can
lot.
fill this hour pretty fast. But before we got that, do you have news we didn't discuss?
I do.
You do.
I do have news, but we can
that's all around the whatever world here.
fly through the news because I want to get to Star Wars and I have a lot to talk about. First of all, can I just whip us all through it? And I know, Rizzo, you don't care as much, but I'm like hooked on this now. Can I whip us through the recent Paramount drama? Because there's some drama llama going on at Paramount. A lot has happened, so let me try to just sum this up as concisely as possible. One, it looked more and more like Paramount Skydance thing was going to happen. So the first thing Paramount did was boot their CEO, Bob Bakish. And probably because he opposed it. He opposed the merger of Paramount and Skydance. And instead now they have this thing called the Office of the CEO, which is three people. It's the CBS boss, George Cheeks. It's the Paramount Pictures chief, Brian Robbins. And it's the MTV Entertainment Group president, Chris McCarthy. Kind of weird. Analysts have called putting these three men in, they call it rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Then Warren Buffett read the writing on the wall and sold all his Paramount shares, which kind of tanked it a little bit. Then Paramount briefly had a tentative deal with Skydance, but it expired. And now everyone's like, wait, what? I thought you were, what's happening? So now, fourth, Sony and Apollo have teamed up to once again offer $26 billion in cash, but they don't think Sherry Redstone's gonna take this, because she is literally always going, my father's dying wish was that Paramount not be broken up. And you know that Apollo wants to break and sell stuff off. So as of tonight, we don't know what's happening. No one knows what's happening.
It's like an episode from, what was that, the HBO show there?
Oh, yeah.
The one with, with Brian Cox and
yes.
What the heck is the name? It's like,
it is. It is
why
very
is
much.
I can't think of the name of
It's not Succession.
Succession, yeah.
Succession? Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it sounds like an episode of Succession. Is what
it does. It does. I'm done with it. I'll update you when something actually happens. But to me,
it's a mess. And the sad thing is, Star Trek is in the middle of it, and even though they're still operating, you have to wonder when and how this plays out, how it's going to affect all of their shows, not just Star Trek as a franchise, but they do have some shows that are popular besides Star Trek, believe it or not. So
yeah.
And
we'll see. All right, I'm going to move on to a couple other news items, and then we're going to get to Star Wars. Michelle Yeoh has been in the news recently. Did you know she just won the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
I do now.
She doesn't. Just to remind everyone, it's the nation's highest civilian honor presented to individuals who have made especially meritorious contributions to the following things: security or national interests, world peace, cultural or other significant public or private endeavors. So she counts as cultural endeavors. It has just been announced that Michelle will star in Blade Runner 2099. This is a sequel series, which is being stood up for Prime Video. Details are still under wraps. It is a sequel to Blade Runner 2049. And we do know that it's a limited series. So think 3 to 8 episodes kind of thing.
That's pretty much a season of everything now.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, it is kind of a season.
It's getting sad. Yeah. Hey, Sue and Dennis, how are you? Bill says, will Disney pick up Star Trek on the?
I doubt it, but I wouldn't mind if Uhura was a Disney princess. I mean,
yeah, I mean, boy, if they held both franchises, could you imagine?
Can you imagine? Oh my God, there could be a Star Wars, Star Trek
I don't know
crossover.
that. Talk about a monopoly on.
Yeah, talk about a monopoly on our entertainment. But they're not, just so you guys know, they're not selling individual franchises and TV shows off. They're selling off things like Paramount Global owns Paramount Plus streaming service, Paramount Studios, the place that makes movies, MTV, oh no, BET, MTV, Comedy Central. So they're talking about, selling entire big things off, not individual
studios off. I wonder, the interesting thing about this, I know we want to get through this, but I'm wondering when the antitrust laws start to kick in, because if they, like Disney did, let's say, get into the mix and say, well, we'll buy it or something, that would make them a huge monopoly.
Yep.
So owning so many broadcast, they own what, Fox, and what they own, CBS, is it Fox they own? ABC, no, they own ABC.
ABC.
They own, a ton. I mean, it's just, they own HBO, which is all part of that.
Paramount owns Nickelodeon. Yeah, it's crazy. All right, two last little tidbits here. One is The Boys season 4 trailer dropped. I'm excited about that. They're expecting The Boys season 4 to start on Thursday, June 13th. Yeah. And just a side note, and I know you haven't watched it yet. I recommend you do.
Actually, I started watching Gen V.
Did you? Did you watch
it? I'm about halfway through it.
Okay. I liked it. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. It was pretty much a lot of the same. With younger
kids. But the spinoff Gen V announced it will not be recasting Chance Perdomo, who tragically just died in a motorcycle accident. They're just gonna, give him a nod and then move on with the storyline.
Which character was that now?
Andre Anderson.
Oh, okay.
The black kid.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know he died.
Yes, I reported a couple of weeks back he died in a motorcycle accident. He's only 27.
So that's very sad.
And then last thing tonight, did you, any of you, and you, Rizzo, did you see the Superman photo that James Gunn dropped? What do you think? I have not
seen it. I have not seen it because I'm not a big Superman fan.
It was interesting. They started principal photography about 2 months ago. It's not scheduled to be released until like July of 2025, but the photo caused a lot of people to be like, oh.
Not Nicolas Cage, though. So that's...
No, it's not Nick Cage. It's not Nick Cage. Is anybody commenting on the photo? Nope, they're all just saying hi. Hi, everybody.
No, everybody's just saying hi, being cordial. So anyway, all right, is that the news?
That is the news. What are we drinking tonight?
We are drinking, I suppose it's the Galactic Fizz.
Ooh.
It's vodka, blueberry liqueur, lime juice, simple syrup, which is just sugar and water, and club soda.
Delicious.
Blueberries and some mint spring. I think this one would be nice. This one's probably a pretty good drink. This one definitely comes with a matching purse, but I think it'd be okay.
Well, I think it would be okay if you put some of that luster dust in there. I bet it would look so cool.
Luster dust.
You know what I mean? You know what that stuff is? It's like,
it's just edible glitter.
Edible glitter. It's all shimmery and sparkly.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah, I don't never really stock that at my bar, but I also don't have blueberry liqueur. So, but anyway. I bet you could use blueberry vodka in it too and really kick it up a notch.
So I guess full disclosure to all our viewers, if we actually did every single movie and series for Star Wars, we'd be covering like 27 or 28.
Yeah, we'd be here for a while.
We're not going that deep. So
we're just going to be talking about, we're not going to go movie to movie or we're just going to talk about, I don't know. I didn't really think about this too carefully.
I have an entire page of like every single thing with like what I like.
Yeah, I mean, we could just kind of start. I mean, obviously for me, the movies always impacted me. The first movie, of course, was a huge impact in my life. And I've discussed that, how it was for a lot of kids my age. I mean, life was Star Wars in 1977.
78, 90.
78 and 79 and 1980. 1981, you know what I'm saying? It was like for 10 years almost. That's all there was. I mean, for a lot of us. And it wasn't just the movies, then you had all the toys, and it was just kind of I never can think of anything else in my life that impacted me at that level. Like for some reason that you became such a focus for so long.
Yeah,
and I mean, what were
we watching? We were watching Dukes of Hazzard and Wonder Woman and The Incredible Hulk on TV.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff. I mean, even Battlestar Galactica came out, of course, as a result of Star Wars. So there was a lot of good things that came out of it because of the popularity of it. A bad thing that I actually would say that did was that Star Trek became motion picture instead of a rebooted TV show. That I think was a bad thing. I think it would have had been better had we gotten New Voyages, or Phase 2 or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
Phase 2, I guess, or something. But, so I think because that was, again, Paramount was wanting, we're jumping on the movie bandwagon. I got to get onto this spaceship stuff. So, but we got, Battlestar and then Buck Rogers, and think about all the things that it spawned.
So many, you're absolutely right. Not only did it spawn things, but I kind of play this little game where every movie I watch, I look for the nod to Star Wars, because I actually think that every single movie that has been made since A New Hope has a nod to Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of pop references in so many movies. I mean, even Firefly had a little frozen Han Solo in the alley area, So Bill saying, older sister can't believe he saw it doesn't tie. Yeah, I've seen it about I think between 75 and 100 times in the theater. So I got that beat, Bill. But yeah, the funny thing is, as you guys know, I'm part of Rebel Legion now, so I'm trooping with a lot of these people, and I'm like one of the only ones that's seen the movie in the theater, the original. There are a lot of them so much younger than me. There's a few older guys, but most of them are probably in their 30s.
I'm stunned.
So when I keep saying, I was there, 5/25/77, I was there, and they're like,
and did they all see like the remastered and think Han did not shoot for
that's a good question. I'll have to bring that up, about what their opinions on the remastering is, because a lot of them wouldn't have grown up with even being able to see the original cuts. Unless you download. Although I do know some of them do. They know that they can go and you can grab the bootleg copies off the internet of the remastered original versions. So, anyway, So from that standpoint, we got some good stuff. I think we're not going to talk about bad things, so I don't want to talk about the re-edit, but.
So either hit me up.
I think and Lucas always says it was made for kids, and clearly it wasn't just made for kids.
It clearly touched.
But it's the kids inside of the adults that liked it too, because it wasn't just, obviously it spoke to more than just children. And we kind of see that it seems like more of a British thing than an American thing. But we see how many British kids TV shows became massively popular with adults, even more than they ever were with children. When you look at things like Doctor Who, which again was kind of originally as a kind of a sort of a kid show, I believe, when it started, and then you had like Thunderbirds and all those other shows that Jerry Anderson did out of the puppets, but they became massively popular with adults. So there's like a theme with that. No, Bill, it wasn't the original run. It was in a second theater. Was asking if I had seen all the 100 times the original run. It was between Empire and Jedi. There was a summer where a local theater ran it, and for $1. And me and my friends went every single day.
Did you watch it multiple times per day, or
no? Just the once. So, but the theater was only like a 5-minute ride from where we lived in our neighborhood, and is. One kid's mother was very accommodating. Drove us down there.
She was thinking free babysitting.
We got 2 hours of 2 hours, 2.5 hours of not having to deal with us. So there was that.
So let's talk. What are your favorite moments? So let's just talk original trilogy as a whole. Favorite moments out of the original trilogy.
Well, the whole, to me, it would have to be the cantina scene for sure.
Yeah.
The opening scene from A New Hope, of course, is really quite epic.
The binary sunset. Oh.
And so the cantina scene, and then of course I think the Yavin battle.
Yeah.
To me is of course the highlight of that film. So those are the ones that definitely stand out to me, and I still get a little goosebumpy at the end with the whole fanfare. And you got to talk about the music as part of this love, is because John Williams did such a brilliant job. And he didn't just sit on his laurels for the next movie and the movie after that. He kept adding to it and
Cranking it
adding
out
to
for
it and adding to it.
11 movies.
Yeah.
Because by the time he got to Phantom Menace, he was cranking out Duel of the Fates, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
And there's some really great moments. It wasn't John Williams anymore, was it? But there are some really great moments in the sequels too, music wise.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. No, John Williams is a genius.
Yeah.
When it comes to this sort of thing. And so, yeah, the music alone, much like Indiana Jones was, or Raiders of the Lost Ark, so you say before they called it Indiana Jones.
And he did Jaws. Yeah, we need to have
he's done, but I mean that those epic, some of those we all love. Like it's like, yeah, and if you live or listen to some of his other stuff that's not even as mainstream, like the music for Empire of the Sun, which is another Spielberg movie, which I've talked about. And if you haven't seen it, you need to go watch Empire of the Sun, which is not a science fiction. It's a story about Second World War and prisoner. Anyway, little Christian Bale. But again, just epic. Just he's done so many great.
Oh yeah,
Superman.
I would love a John Williams night. Yeah.
Yeah. Superman alone, But anyway, I get off the topic. So that would be my thing for. So what would you say? I mean, would you agree? I mean, for episode 1.
For New Hope, I wrote. So for the original trilogy, for A New Hope, I literally wrote, guys. I wrote these words. Come on, because it's the new. Oh my god, every single part of that movie is forever.
It's burned into your brain.
Burned, yeah, burned into my brain, and in my heart, and it will never. So for Empire, and just full disclosure, of the 11 movies, I'm ranking Empire Strikes Back as my personal number 1. I think it is the very best movie out of all of them. It is the very best of the pack. Why? Bespin, Hoth, Dagobah, Carbon Freezing Hand. I love you. I know. Do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Yeah, no, I've said this before. Empire is really the better movie.
It is.
It is the better movie, but in my heart, Episode 4, New Hope, whatever you want to call it, will always be Star. It's always that's the movie because that's the one that drew us all in. But you're right. Empire was one of the best, if not the best, sequel of any movie ever made. I mean, it took the story and continued it on when they really could have just left Star Wars alone. When you think about it, the Death Star blown up. Boom, and you assume that was that things were going to go their way after that, and that was the end of it. But we know it didn't quite because obviously they left the door open with Vader. They not dying at the end.
Yeah,
and then of course the Emperor is still there. They didn't really mention the Emperor much in that first movie. It really wasn't. You kind of almost think Darth was in charge.
Yeah, you do. Yes,
I mean, you got to remember what it was when you got to get into that bubble that you don't know anything else.
Palpatine in Empire. No, you don't know it's Palpatine. In Empire Strikes Back, you just know he's the Emperor.
The Emperor, right.
And then in Jedi, I think it kind of starts. So for Jedi, I wrote on my notes, great storytelling for Luke. Like he's like, I'm a Jedi, like my father before me. His whole final battle, the redemption of throwing him down down the shaft. Like, oh my God. I didn't care. Ewoks, no Ewoks, whatever. I did not care. But just Luke's storyline coming to its
right, and that's the arc, and the arc of we find out of Vader / Anakin, where he's ultimately redeemed.
Yeah.
Although having known the prequels, I don't think you would have had the same feelings for Vader that you did at the end of Jedi, because you're like, he ended up being, but then you're like, wait a minute, Anakin like slaughtered kids, like he literally slaughtered.
He slaughtered, Oh yeah.
So you're like, I'm not redeeming that.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff agrees. Empire number 1, magical beyond belief. A New Hope introduced us to everything, and then Empire solidified it in our hearts and in our heads and hearts. Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. It is. Yeah, I might put. I don't know what I would slide in right behind Empire. If I had to rate the whole everything, I might actually slide Andor, which is a TV series, but I might slide that in behind Empire. But anyway.
I have to go with the first 3 trilogies are still always going to be my favorite.
Your favorite one,
and then right after that,
Rogue One into
Rogue One.
Yeah,
it goes Rogue One because again we can jump ahead to Rogue One for a minute because
we may as well because it ties in.
Rogue One is the first movie since the original trilogy that I got those feels back.
Yes.
I got the feels that I had as a kid. It
Yes.
felt so much like the original trilogy. Maybe it was, I don't know if it was the writing, the look, the story, the time placement, that it was, you know, I maybe it was all of that stuff.
I know what it was.
And it just, to me, that one, honestly, that is, first of all, that is the only time I've seen a movie more than once in the theater since the original
Since,
movies.
the thing, what Rogue One did brilliantly, is it filled in backstory for us without relying on gimmicks or pulling back a million old characters. I mean, they did pull back Saw Gerrera, but not in any heavy-handed way.
Most people didn't even know who Saw was unless
Most
you
people
watched,
didn't even know who he was.
unless
They
you
hadn't
watched,
seen
unless
Rebels
you
or
watched Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And
it told us, it filled in the background without gimmicks, without dumb retelling of the same story the way Force Awakens did. With Force Awakens just retold, you know,
right. It's just it's New Hope over again.
It didn't make everybody related to everyone else, and everyone's this one's brother, sister, cousin. You know, I hate when they do that. It was genius. And then we get to Vader's hallway scene.
That was epic. And that was also added at the 11th hour. That was not in the original
genius.
script.
Whoever added that, they're a genius.
Yeah, it was a brilliant scene, because, and it's probably one of my, of all of the scenes in that movie, it's got to be my favorite. And the reason is because when they shot that, again, Darth Vader once again became a horrible, scary bad guy. Yes. Remember the first time we all saw that, we were kids, we were scared of Darth Vader. I remember them in school saying, you know, with the firemen, you remember, because they'd wear the Scott Air packs, and it sounds like Darth Vader, and don't be afraid. And they used to, even when I was going through fire school, they would say, you know, that was in the late 80s. They were still saying kids would be afraid. They see you, they'll hide under the beds and stuff because they think you're Darth Vader. Yep. Yep. So, you know, that was, and then we get to the prequels, and you're like, Darth Vader isn't that scary anymore.
Exactly. I mean, Clone Wars helped with that. But all right, let's do the prequels.
But then you get to that scene.
Yes.
And you can feel the terror of those rebels.
Yes. And he's screeching at the door. Oh my God.
Freak out.
And he's like trying to pass it through this little.
He finally does get it
this much, and he's passing it through. Oh my God!
Yeah, it was done so, and you know, it was epic. It
really was epic. It was so good. You know, that and Luke coming back on Mandalorian, I think, are like two.
Right, and that was we'll get. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. All right, so you mentioned the prequel, the first three. So you want to
talk about the prequels a little bit, because I know we trash them, but there are some good things in there. It's not.
There are, yes, there are.
So one of the things, first of all, I think a lot of people agree that the sword play was kicked up quite a bit in that film compared to what we saw even in Jedi. We kind of see it became more of a dance and a choreography than it was just fighting. And so those scenes with Qui-Gon, Darth Maul, and Obi-Wan were, that scene alone was the best scene of that whole film.
Easily,
no question about it.
I wrote that as my favorite.
Yeah, that's like and the soundtrack. It had a really good. The soundtrack for it was excellent.
Yeah.
So those are two things I can say about the second movie.
So
I don't really have a lot of positive things to say about the Camino stuff. Was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
The Camino stuff.
And I like that the space battles where they're going through again kind of an asteroid field, and they're having those massive explosions, those kind of like jet charge things, and are neat. But overall, that movie fell a little bit short for me. Even the end battle, which was kind of cool when the clones all show up.
Yeah, it did fall. I understand what you mean. So for Attack of the Clones, the second movie, for my highlights, I wrote Count Dooku telling Obi-Wan about Sidious. That was actually, I think, a turning point in the entire like the overall thread of the narration. The Tusken Massacre is horrific, but in a good way, because it's showing you Anakin. We see Obi-Wan kind of in investigation mode the whole movie, which is kind of cool. But I really enjoyed, not the battle at the arena. I mean, I guess I enjoyed the battle. You could always pick out Mace Windu's purple thing. But I enjoyed Yoda coming in with the stormtroopers. It was like the first time in your life.
Yeah, you saw Yoda. That battle, and then he fights Sidious again at the end of whatever the hell's the name of the third movie there.
I know.
But
Yeah,
yeah, that was the Dooku battle was pretty good in that film too. I guess. Yeah, I have to say that was all right.
that was okay. So I thought there was some good storytelling. You and I
I did
both
like. I
agreed.
will say. I just want to. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt,
Yeah,
but
no.
I did like the fact that we got to see a lot of Coruscant in
Yes,
that
I
film.
did too. Coruscant
Even
street level. Yeah,
yeah, street level and stuff like that. Even if you want to call it that, because there was no ground level, is ridiculously low.
yeah, I agree.
So
You and
anyway, sorry. Go ahead. You were
I
saying
was gonna say
storytelling.
you and I both agree that they were rushing the Anakin story, but when we get to clones later on in the hour, we'll talk about that. So then
Right.
comes Revenge of the Sith. And this has one of my actual favorite scenes. This has the scene of Palpatine sitting in that opera. It was a show or an opera. I don't know what the hell it was.
Yeah.
It was something they were watching. And Anakin comes in and he tells Anakin about Darth Plagueis. What's the guy's name? Whatever.
I
He
don't
tells him
remember
that
the
whole
guy's
story,
name, but
and
yeah, I know
he
the story. He's telling
plants.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, he plants the seed. I actually love that. I genuinely love that,
Well,
and
he
the
was. Yeah, he was
storytelling of it.
clearly. Yeah. What
And then,
aggravated me, I think, about the two of Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith there, I think was I get so frustrated with the Jedi Order and the Council because they seem so clueless. Like, how
yes,
could you miss what's going on? How do you not know? And I always say it shows their arrogance that they had become
yeah.
so kind of fat on
And
their own
you see it in the
power.
movie before when Dooku was telling him Sidious, and I think Obi-Wan says, "No, the Jedi would have sensed that," and Dooku was like, "No, no, 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 no."
Yeah, because I think
And
they
that,
didn't sense
yeah,
it because they were so their arrogance and everything had built up that they had basically they couldn't even see that what was right in front of their face.
yeah.
They
The other
couldn't.
cool thing that I wanted to mention that I had on my what I liked about Revenge of the Sith was Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end of the movie. I have the high ground. You were the chosen one.
Yeah, you could really
I love
feel
all
that
that.
is true. Well, Ewan does a great job, and
Ewan does
I
an
think you really can
amazing
feel
job.
his. Again, he does an acting in a well that you feel his pain of what's happening. That
Yes,
he's
yes.
his
He's
friend
crushed. He's definitely
has he
crushed.
has to kill
Yeah,
his friend,
yeah.
and
Which he doesn't
and
do. But anyway,
which he doesn't do. He leaves him for dead.
he
Of
leaves
course,
him.
then we wouldn't have more movies.
He just assumes it all went okay.
It just all went to plan.
It
Yes,
all went to plan.
that's gonna just leave him easily escapable.
We're just gonna leave him and easily escape.
Easily
It all goes
escapable.
to plan.
Just hope it all goes to plan. Yeah, that was. I didn't really. I thought
See, I loved
the
it.
battle was good. I really wished it wasn't on that
It was long, but it was
silly.
good.
Yeah, I didn't like the locale. I thought it was a little too
Oh, the
ridiculous
lava and all
because
that.
the lava thing. I mean, yeah, they're probably using, but the heat from the lava alone would have killed them
All
just
right,
being
this
that
don't
close to it.
apply. Do
I
not
know it's
apply
Star
sensor
Wars.
logic.
It's
Just
Star Wars.
enjoy your wizards with
I
light.
know, but it was a little, and I didn't think that the CGI was that great for that one. I thought it looked a little forced.
Yeah, it probably was lacking a little, but they
I
got
don't
the
know. It's
story
such a
out.
Star Wars thing to always build things like on a cliff and very
Yeah,
precariously,
yeah,
and lots of they not, things with no railings. They
true.
just do that a lot. They
They do
just
that a lot. That is true. Yeah, no, but Lucas got his story out. We have now seen the fall of Anakin Skywalker. We see him don the suit, and we see him rise as Darth Vader. Yeah,
right, and that was kind of the epic ending. Is that there's Darth Vader is now
yeah,
born. There is no more Anakin.
yeah,
He is he's gone.
yeah.
So and that kind of solidifies his place, so to speak. But my thing is he had to know the thing that didn't jive with me though is Anakin had to know that Padme was pregnant with twins. And yet he didn't seem to know.
They had been separated a bit. I don't know, man.
She was pregnant though. I mean, in that day and age, we could tell people got pregnant
Knew
with
she
twins.
was
It's not
pregnant,
like
right?
it's like
He definitely knew. So
and you think
I don't
just
know.
from a
Maybe they didn't
fourth
have
sense, you would be
ultrasound back
able to
then.
sense
I
that
don't
there's
know.
two babies in there.
Yeah, you would think, but if you're gonna go that route, then you have to say later on in A New Hope when Vader meets Leia, he should have instantly
He should have
known
known,
this is my
yeah, he should have
child.
known it was his daughter. Yeah, you're right. But he
Look,
didn't.
man,
So.
we got to skim over that. We need it for the story to happen. We just got to skim it. All right,
Exactly. I get it.
shall we? Do we dare jump ahead to The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker?
I honestly don't have a lot to say.
I have some.
Well, I should take it back. I do. I have a few things. When I first saw what's the first one? The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens.
I saw that in the theater. I saw it in IMAX. Did I see? Was it 3D or was it just IMAX? I don't remember. And my first pass at it was, I did get, the only feels I got from it was, at least JJ went back, and this is again pre Rogue One. He went back and he shot things similar to how they shot stuff from the original movie, as far as the angles of the fighters and the space battles, and they used the wipes that they had from the old movie.
He did use.
So he kind of got that feel back, the look to it. I think Rogue One did it 100 times better, but he kind of got that feeling back a little bit. So some of the battle stuff, the aerial battles, was pretty good. But the story, of course, was not great. It was the reheating of the original movie. And another thing we talked about this is they didn't really explain any backstories to this New Order thing. It's like,
no, they really didn't. They really did.
But that aside, I actually do like the character of Poe. I like his character. So he's kind of a positive from them. There's not a lot else, and then you get to the second movie, which I
okay. So for Force Awakens, this is what I wrote on my notes here. I wrote straight up seeing Han again. Like, I was really happy to see Han again.
Yeah,
like,
that was nice to see. Yeah,
it was cool meeting Kylo. I had high hopes for Kylo. I don't know if he fulfilled them or not, but it was cool seeing him. Luke at the end. Although we're going to talk about the Mandalorian, and yes, we agree the Mandalorian did it better. Kylo stopping a blaster bolt, that was cool. Come on, don't tell me it wasn't cool. It was cool.
Well, it was Vader. That's a Vader move.
It was a Vader move, which he was trying to be.
Vader do that right in
Kylo killing Han. I can't decide whether I want to.
And the thing with Adam Driver is, like, that was like one of the first things I ever saw him in. I'm like, I just didn't.
Oh, really?
I've
seen a ton of Adam.
Yeah, I just hadn't. And I hadn't seen him in anything
really
other than that. And I didn't really. I just thought it was another whiny, and just didn't work for me. But I actually have a lot of respect. I actually seen him in other stuff.
I like it,
and I actually like him a lot. In fact, you ever see Logan Lucky?
Yeah.
Or Lucky Logan or Logan Lucky? I think it's called Logan Lucky. It's about a heist movie, and it's very funny. And he's kind of one of the stars of it. So I highly recommend if you never seen it. Yeah. It's good. And that movie alone kind of made me a bit of a Adam Driver fan.
Yeah, I like it.
So, but I didn't really care for the Kylo Ren character. They didn't really give up. They kind of did eventually flesh out the fall of Ben.
Yep.
Ben Skywalker, or Ben Solo rather. But
Ben Solo, yeah.
It just didn't really. And again, that was something they played with in a lot of the novels, that Ben was always kind of on the edge of.
Yes.
But
you're right. It's not flushed out. You're absolutely right. But we got to try to enjoy. This is what we love about Star Wars. So we have to try to enjoy another little moment I liked in Force Awakens was the end? The fight at the end. Kylo's reaching for a lightsaber and it flies past him and it goes right to Rey. I like these little moments. It's just cool.
Yeah, again, it was a little forced because she was so ill-trained that, and he was supposed to be this ultimately powerful. It would have been like Luke going up against Vader in the first movie.
Yeah, I suppose.
It was just a little too didn't hold water for me. But again, we're trying to be positive here. I have a tough time being positive on those.
All right, let's get through Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker so we can move on to things that you can be more positive. So for me, for Last Jedi, I wrote the Luke and Kylo fight. I loved it. I loved Mark Hamill going like that. The whole little maneuver. When Kylo and Rey fight the Praetorian Guards in red, that was a great scene. It was beautifully shot. And that moment of Luke hugging Leia. Is he already dead? Yeah, I think he's already dead, but he's like ghost hugging. Oh, it was so sweet. And we get to see Yoda again. So there were some good things in Last Jedi.
I gotta watch it again. I only watched it once and I didn't like it.
You don't remember any of that. The Luke and Kylo fight was so good. Like it was.
Yeah, no, I remember. I mean, anytime, you see. I just think again. I think I would have rather have seen. I don't think they should have never brought it back, the original the original characters in that way. It should have been, if they were going to do it, they should have done it back in like the 90s when they were younger and
Yeah, I guess.
pull it off. But anyway, so just rolling back now for away from that, we could talk about TV shows.
So wait, hang on. So you want to do Rise of Skywalker? Luke finally lifts the X-Wing. Ben and Han. Ben arriving at the end and Rey force passing her saber to him. It was good. Come on, there were some good moments. All right, so TV shows.
I just don't like the whole storyline, so.
So
it's hard to have an epic moment when you're not a fan of the whole storyline.
They were epic. Go back and rewatch. You know,
maybe I should revisit them.
Like I was researching for tonight, and even I was kind of like, I should really go back and rewatch some of this stuff because, like, maybe it's better than I remember it being.
Yeah, I
All right, what do you want to do?
Let's go back. We'll roll back because we'll go back. Well, we can talk about. First of all, if you haven't seen Clone Wars or Rebels, you need to watch those because they do a very good job of filling in all the space between Jedi and basically like the Mandalorian. Well, no, and I'm sorry, that's all pre New Hope. What am I saying? So it fills in the gaps between the end of the Revenge of the Sith and, well, I take that back again.
Okay, sorry.
Clone Wars is between the movie Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, and then Rebels picks up after that, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Yes, it's after, but before New Hope, because the Rebels hadn't really formed yet. That was part of what Rebels was, is that it was still the early stages of the Alliance, and we see more Saw Gerrera.
Yep, we see more Saw Gerrera.
And then we also, the cool thing about Clone Wars is not only do we see that fleshing out of Anakin's story, and Obi-Wan, we learned about Obi-Wan was not a perfect person either. And I kind of had this discussion with Alex the other day about Obi-Wan because she was kind of trashing Obi-Wan a bit. And I was like, Obi-Wan was not supposed to be a hero. He was never a hero, in my opinion, a character. He was actually a bit of a tragic character because when you think about his arc, he was never really a hero. He was barely hanging on.
Yeah, when you see
he didn't want to train Anakin in the first place, but he took it on because he made a promise to Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
So, and he screwed it up because even he admits he should have just had Yoda train him and been done with it. And then in the end, he has to kill the kid. So,
I tried to raise you, but I gotta kill you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just when you think about it. So he's almost a tragic figure, not a hero figure, in my opinion. So, I mean, disagree with me if you want. I mean, and we see again in Clone Wars, you kind of see because he has the little affair with what's her name from Mandalore. He's got that thing going on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Celine.
No, not so. Whatever the queen was, he was kind of had a little thing going on there. So we kind of see that struggle going on with him, that he's not a perfect Jedi either.
Yeah.
But again, you see this flesh out. Of course, we get Ahsoka in there, which is a good character. When Fellini wrote that character, he intended her to be irritating from the beginning, that you wouldn't like her. And then his whole point was over the arc of that show, you would end up liking her, which is exactly what happened. She grew on everybody. First, she was an annoying little kid, teenager type character, and then she's a very strong, independent person by the end, and you end up really liking Ahsoka quite a bit. So that worked out really well. So the shows were so well written, and they're not children's shows because there's so much violence. I mean, stormtroopers are just getting wasted left and right in that, or clone troopers or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of death and destruction going on in those films.
Oh yeah.
In those TV shows. So those are good. Rebels is great because it kind of fleshes out a little bit more. They brought in Thrawn, so that made Thrawn canon. So that's great. I don't think they did a great job with that character in Ahsoka TV series. It was a bit weaker than we expected. I don't think the actor who played him, who's also the voice actor from Rebels, just didn't have the screen presence to pull off Thrawn properly. That's really all. Nothing against him personally. I just think it was a poor choice.
also brings us a little moment for Ahsoka. It's not an Ahsoka show at all.
No,
she's barely in it. But that's the one. It wasn't Clone Wars. It was Rebels. I'm almost sure where she's fighting with Vader, and he says, "Revenge is not the Jedi way," and she says, "I'm no Jedi."
Yeah, because she quit because they screwed her over.
In Clones, she quit in
Clones,
and then in
Rebels.
Rebels
she quit, right? So, so those two series are great. Really don't have it. There's some really good episodes in there that are just fun. It fleshes out the story overall, I think, really well. Again, why? Because look who's running it. People that are Star Wars fans. So
what Clone Wars does brilliantly that I would recommend everyone watch Clone Wars just for this. It fleshes Anakin out so much better, like so much better than those two movies than Hayden Christensen could.
Absolutely. You really understand more where he's coming from.
You understand him. You understand where he's coming from. You understand his motivations, and it is that much more soul crushing and heartbreaking when you finally get to his inevitable fall.
Yeah. Yes, Bill. I believe they are doing a second season of Ahsoka. I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but I believe it is greenlit to be made. They kind of have to. They left it hanging.
They did leave it hanging. Yeah,
they don't have to, but I mean, it would be nice to wrap that up a little bit. And I love that we could talk about a little bit of Ahsoka, the TV show. I love seeing all those Rebels characters in now be brought to life. I mean, you got to see.
I like her.
I like Hera Syndulla. She's great. You've got, you got
Sabine.
Even Sabine, they did a good job with. I think Chopper's in there. The little robot. So, and then of course we
see
Ezra. Huh?
Yeah, we do see Ezra.
Ezra at the end. Yeah, see Ezra Bridger. So you get to see some of these characters that were kind of, again. But overall, I think they were on the right track with Ahsoka. I think the execution was just bad. I don't know what it was, but I think they were doing okay with it. Just something about it just didn't. I think their pacing of it was too slow. I think that's what it was. I think they needed it to be tightened up and more action. There was a little too much. It just seemed like it was drawn out a little too much for trying to stretch it out to how many episodes there were. And I don't. So anyway, so that brings me to Mandalorian. I mean, it's like I got to.
Which is two very enthusiastic thumbs up.
Yeah, Mandalorian was so good, and again, because it was the product of Dave Filoni.
Zeb was in Mandalorian.
What's that?
Jeff Rubel said, "Don't forget Zeb," and he was actually in Mandalorian.
Yeah,
pretty sure.
Yeah,
maybe it was one of them. Anyway, keep going.
But you got Favreau and Filoni running that show. And two huge Star Wars fans back from that 525, 77. You know what I'm saying? They're old school Star Wars. And we saw that. And it was just a good story. And I think it was interesting because we took kind of the Boba Fett character and kind of remade it so that it wasn't Boba Fett, but he kind of has the same badassery of Boba Fett, but he's not a bad guy.
He probably is a better Boba Fett than
But he
Boba
was
Fett
a bounty hunter, just like Boba Fett. You know what I'm saying? But he, and of course, part of me was like, oh, I don't know why Grogu works so well when you think of all the little cutesy stuff that Lucas tried and we didn't like Ewoks.
But Grogu works.
And Jar Jar and things like that.
That is a fantastic question.
And yet, Grogu,
never an Ewok fan.
Yeah, Grogu everybody loves. There's nobody that don't like Grogu.
I don't like Babu Frick. I don't like. There's been a million of them. I don't like Pogs, well, those little birds that.
Oh, the Pogs, yeah, wherever they were, yeah, the dumb little.
I didn't care one way or the other, but Grogu.
Yeah, it worked. I don't know why. Why does it work better than any of those other silly little cutesy things? But I think it's because he has a personality. He has a bit of a personality, and you could see there's intelligence in there, but he's still a little kid because he still does things he shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And of course, the interaction between the two of them is pretty good.
Yeah,
they don't talk,
he's another one who's wanted for his M count, which we learn more about that in the Bad Batch because Omega is wanted for her M count as well.
Yes.
So yeah, and then they're fleshing out the whole cloning backstory,
right? Which is where they're leading to the the sequel movies. That's
Yes.
where there's cloning the emperor to make
when Poe goes, somehow Palpatine survived. This is why.
Well, this is they cloned him, I guess. He didn't really
they're literally
survive.
giving
They're
you the
cloning
backstory
him.
of one line in one movie. Bill is asking for Ahsoka, a smaller episode count would have been good. Yeah, Bill,
I just think to tighten up the story or put in more interesting
I don't know.
scenes.
I liked Thrawn. I liked the Witches of Dathomir because that was Claudia. The head witch was Claudia Black, my girl. I love her. And I actually, excuse me, I actually really liked the Balin Skull and Shin Hati story.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, there was a lot of good things in it. Like I said, there's a lot of elements. It just didn't. They didn't put the puzzle together right.
You know what it was? We're supposed to be talking about what we love, not what we hate. But I mentioned this last week. Rosario chose to play Ahsoka really chill. Like, she was a really chill Ahsoka. And I don't know, man. Is that really where her... Like, when you first meet her, she's annoying, but she grows up.
Well, I think she's a lot older by this point, too.
And she is pretty older, but does
by the end of Clone Wars.
Chill out like that? I don't know,
she's a lot older than she was at the end of Clone Wars. Because remember, we are now past... We're like over 20 years past that.
Yeah, I suppose.
You know what I'm saying? So she's considerably older.
Yeah.
And probably mature and been doing her own thing for a long time.
For a while. Being Fulcrum or whatever it was she was.
Right.
Anyway, let's get back to what we love, because that's supposed to be
So of course Mandalorian, the whole arc there is great.
Incredible arc.
We bring in, there's
Cad
some
Bane.
of the but you got the IG-88 character. I thought another great character from which is Timothy Oliphant's character as again a ranger.
And he's wearing the armor, and you're like,
he's wearing Boba Fett's armor, and so I love Timothy Oliphant. First of all, as an actor, I love it. If you'd ever watch, first of all, of course, if you've seen Deadwood, which is a Western, great. He's awesome in that. If you've seen, of course, he had his own show called Justified, where he plays a ranger, a marshal rather, plays so he always playing a marshal. Seems like his thing. He's playing a marshal in Deadwood. He plays a marshal in Justified. He plays a marshal in Mandalorian. It's like his thing is marshal. But I want to see more of that character.
I would too.
Somehow I want to see more of that character.
I would too. I want to see more. I
love his acting, and I love just his whole.
I liked Fennec Shan.
Fennec was great. Yep.
I liked the lady that fixed the
the mechanic. I don't know her name.
Either her character name.
There's a lot of good characters. Yeah.
I can't think of either her character name
or the actor. We got what's his name? We have the guy that just recently passed there.
That played Balin Skull.
The guy, I can't think of his name.
You'll think of it. Here's what's cool about Mandalorian. Mandalorian brings Star Wars kind of back to some of its roots, sort of, not quite. I know a lot of people point and say the roots were actually Kurosawa, which is true. Yes, the roots were Japanese. But then came the Westerns that were based on the Japanese things. And Mandalorian pulls it right back to those Westerns. Oh, yeah. Nick Forge played the Nick Forge played the yeah, you're right, but he didn't die. Hang on.
I don't know where you're going with it.
I thought you were talking about the guy that this is the way. I have spoken. That guy.
No, not that guy. That's actually freaking Nick. Nick Colt. I'm thinking of Carl Weathers. Is who I'm thinking.
No.
You're thinking of Nick Nolte.
I'm thinking of Nick Nolte. You're thinking of Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers, who just recently passed, and
yes,
and he plays that Grief Karga.
Yeah, Grief.
And then of course we have to talk about my man Giancarlo. I mean,
Moff Gideon,
the Chicken Man. Of course, he'll always be the Chicken Man, though, from Breaking Bad.
He plays. He's in The Boys. Oh my God.
Yes, he also is in The Boys. He always plays kind of the same character.
Best characters.
But he does it so well. I got to meet him actually in Ottawa at the Ottawa Comic Con. It was really great. Is he
nice cool?
Guy. Yeah, he seemed like a nice guy. At least he was the fans. So. But of course the whole arc, we get to season 2 at the end, and
we're screaming.
Spoiler alert! But you see the X-wing, and even I was like sitting there. My wife is going, "It's Luke," and I'm like, "No, they wouldn't know." It's not Luke. It's somebody else. It's like Ahsoka or something in the X-Wing or something like that. And then you realize I was like literally stunned. I was like slack-jawed when it was Luke.
Well, he
And of
gets
course,
out, and
that
at first it's
epically
black and
just
white, but you can see he's wearing a glove,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
you're like,
yeah. And then he just
and then it's in
epically
color.
mows through all
You
those
see the green lightsaber.
yeah, all those droids, and it's a very similar scene in a way up to the Darth Vader Rogue One scene
Yeah, it is.
where he
Yeah,
kind of rips through them all like
he's
nothing.
going down the hallway, just
Like you just like they're just like they're
Yes,
toys.
you know what? You're right. That's a very Vader scene for him. Interesting. And he does do some of the same moves as his dad. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
people get thrown up against the ceiling and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so it was of course you're all just about cheering when you see this, and they did it so well.
oh yeah.
And again, that's the kind of thing we want. Yes, it was, and there's the guy that did the deep fake afterwards even did it better than it really looked
But
like.
you know why? That was one of the best because stuff leaks all the time. That
It was a good kept secret. They kept that secret. Yes.
They kept that secret. In fact, I was watching Katie Sackhoff was talking to Fennec Shan. No, not Fennec Shan. Who else? Yeah, I guess Fennec Shan. Ming-Na, somebody, and she was like, "Did you know?" And Ming-Na was like, "Yeah, I knew." And Katie Sackhoff who was in the scene was like, "I didn't know until we got there and we filmed." It's like, oh my God.
They really kept it under wraps, and it was like under penalty of death.
Yeah,
if anybody leaked it. So, and again, I think a lot of that, where that comes from. I think so many people respected Favreau, the people that work on the show, that you know what I'm saying. There was so much respect for him that they kept that secret because they wanted it to work. They wanted people to have that reaction.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. I think when people respect who they're working for, they're going to take that extra effort and keep.
I would hope so. Yeah. And all I can say to those guys is surprises again. I want more.
Yeah.
Surprise me again. Bring someone else. I mean, do something.
Yeah, just don't overdo it. You know what I'm saying? And don't do it for. I mean, that one it fit
appropriately because we had been speculating. Is Grogu going to be a Jedi? Is he going to go to Luke's school? Because I think we knew Luke had a school,
right? Because remember, this is shortly after Jedi. This takes place.
Yeah,
like a few years after Jedi.
In fact, we had already met Ahsoka, I think, at that point, or is this still to come? Maybe it was.
We hadn't. No, we haven't. Ahsoka doesn't come till the next
season.
I don't think till the next season. I don't think. No. I think you might be right. I think we've already met Ahsoka at this point. I don't know. I think I'm getting my timeline
within Mandalorian. Yeah, I know. I get
regardless of it, it worked out. Yeah, you were kind of wondering where's Luke in all this, and that's why. So it fit. It made complete sense that he would show up.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? It does. It doesn't. They didn't shoehorn it in just to make it fan service.
Where are you? Martin was supposed to fly to London.
I thought he was on his way to England. So thank you if you're on a plane or something.
Are you on a plane watching us? What's happening?
Sci-fi over the Atlantic.
Sci-fi over the Atlantic. So Mandalorian. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of it.
Oh yeah, it was such a good show. It was a good show. I know a lot. It's so funny because I'll read like some of the hate. There's always hate people, and it's like, what could you possibly not like? About
everything? The Bo-Katan stuff was good.
The Bo-Katan stuff was good. I mean, the third season was definitely the weakest. But I think I love the fact that they brought in Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan. I think not only did she voice it well, she fits the actor, the build well.
She did great.
So that was great. And again, that was Fellini's plan all along. He had said to her, like, oh, like what, did you ever play the real life version of her, the live version of her?
He's in Newark. Okay.
So, okay. So, all right. Only sci-fi over New Jersey. That's
sci-fi New Jersey.
That's just not that doesn't have the same cash.
What else do you want to talk? Do you want to talk Bad Batch? Do you want to talk Book of Boba Fett?
Well, there are so many things. Book of Boba Fett.
Do you want to talk Kenobi or Andor?
All right, Andor was great, and I call it the adult Star.
I call it that too,
because it is a much darker story. As Rogue One had some darkness to it, and I think that's another thing I liked about it. It wasn't, they always talk about Star Wars good versus evil, but we kind of see the rebel side had some evil in a lot of the way that Cisco had to do some bad things during the Dominion War. The rebels had to do some not so great things to get their agenda over too. So I think we saw that a bit in Rogue One. We see it a lot more in Andor. And that whole story arc, we know where he ends up.
Yes.
Which kind of becoming a Star Wars thing. We meet these people, we see their end. Now we're going to go back and see
I
their
can find out. That's
I
a really
don't
good
necessarily
point.
am a big fan of that because it takes away that they have to get to that point.
We're still willing to go along on the ride.
But it was a good show. It was really well written.
Amazing show. Andy Serkis. One of the best prison break shows, prison break stories that I'd seen on TV in an age. Seriously.
No, yeah, you're right. And they're building parts. The irony is they're building parts for the Death Star, which is kind of cool. You didn't realize it until they started to see all the bits and pieces coming together. And so that was kind of cool, that's what they were building. But Andor was just really done well. I think it was, again, it held the story better. The storyline was a bit tighter, I think, than Ahsoka. I think that's why.
The storyline was two halves. It was when he was with those rebel camp and they were running around doing the thing with the eye and they were trying to break into remember that whole part? And then part B was the whole prison part.
Right. It was like the two parts.
So it was tight, but it was doing things.
So we'll see. That is getting a second season. It's not until 2025 though.
It's a long wait.
So we got a long wait for more Andor, unfortunately. Star Wars is, again, they're doing this. So now they have a lot of new animated that just came out. The Tales from the Empire.
The Empire,
which are a bunch of. They're really almost shorts. They're like
15 minutes, guys.
You can knock out the entire season, which is 8 episodes or something like that in like couple hours. You can one evening you can watch the whole thing.
I think there's only 6 episodes. So
so there you go. So it's pretty easy to knock that out.
Actually, you know what, you guys, to be honest with you, Tales of the Jedi is the same thing. There's only 6 or 8 and they're 15 minutes. Tales of the Empire, there's 6 and they're 15 minutes and they go together. They're meant to go together. Light side, dark side. So I would shotgun them, honestly. I'd just watch them all at once.
And then, of course, we briefly talked about Bad Batch, which is, again, a Clone War era, or just shortly after Order 66. And these are clones. What?
Go ahead.
No, they're clones that were not quite right. They're not exactly clones.
But they're specialized.
But they're specialized. So we have like a strong one, a really smart tech one that's
listens, one that's
sniper, and one that's like a hunter type. Yeah. So they end up going rogue, so to speak, after Order 66. They don't follow the order, and they're good guys. And
the Bad Batch is a great look at the struggle between following orders, good soldiers follow orders, right, and good and real, and looking at the reality.
And they kind of explain why all the clones turned like that so fast.
Yes. Have you noticed how many of these TV shows have taken a look at Order 66 through different people's eyes? I noticed that Kenobi showed Order 66 through Reva's eyes. Bad Batch shows Order 66 through these guys' eyes. We saw it in Clone Wars, and did we actually see Order 66 in
we saw Order 66 in Clone Wars. We've seen like Rex, because that's the thing about Clone Wars. We get to know some of these clone troopers, Rex for one.
And then they had to figure it out.
We get to know them, and they get to that point, and you see their conflict because they had become friends with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and so they're conflicted. So those that haven't watched Bad Batch and a bit, there's a chip basically they implanted in all the clones that make them impossible for them to. But it didn't, because the Bad Batch guys were Bad Batch. It didn't work quite right with them. Yeah. And it didn't work with Rex for some reason. I don't know why.
Some of these guys had him already dug out. I can't remember the storyline. They'd already taken him out.
Maybe that's what it was. They found him. I can't remember.
But I noticed that Mandalorian does Order 66 through Grogu's eyes.
Right.
Because we learned Grogu was at a Jedi temple or school or whatever. It's just fascinating the way we're kind of revolving a lot around Order 66 here now, and then also around the cloning. That seems to be the two main focal points. And I'm wondering, are we going to get away from that? Are we going to stay there? Is there a reason? Why are we? Why is this the main focus?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what they're driving the clone thing to show you that the whole thing is driving towards cloning the Emperor. So that Palpatine can return, which is kind of what we're seeing. We started to see in the Force Awakens series
Yeah.
on all those. So, but anyway, we are at 8 o'clock already. I don't know what we haven't covered. There's so many good things about Star Wars. We're off next week. So because I'll be in Thai already working on lighting and some other goodies that we're putting in up there that Harvey's working on. You guys saw James post about the comms now. Certain comms you can press and you will get a dialogue. You can do the dialogue back and forth with the comm and so that's kind of neat. We're putting in more of those.
Yes, that's for the cosplay ticket for those of you
who that's for the cosplay. So that's kind of cool. I got to do some lighting and some other stuff. So, and then of course help the Trek experts when they get there.
Yes.
So, I don't know what Roy's got going on. Maybe
I can tell you. Roy is going to talk to. Whoops! Did I delete it already? Oh yeah, there it is. Roy is going to talk to an actress named Marilyn Mason. She's a producer, actress, and screenwriter whose career started in the 1960s and includes the likes of Hogan's Heroes, Bonanza, Big Valley, Dr. Kildare, The Man for Uncle, The Fugitive, Mannix, and on and on and on. She is one of those like classic TV episode actresses that you probably have seen in a lot of stuff and not realize it was her. Phil wanted me to say that he's going to be bringing a lot of Star Trek the Motion Picture stuff, toys, Enterprise toys to Trek Condoroga to sell. So if you're into that, go see Phil. He returns to the airwaves tomorrow talking to some of the Stony Brook professors who were arrested for the Gaza protests. So that'll be interesting. And then he's also doing a trunk sale in Catskill. So if you guys are in Catskill and you want to do a trunk sale on Saturday, go do it. Yeah, we're off next week. And when we come back,
we're going to have. It'll be more Star Wars because we're going to wrap up. I don't know what we're going to do. We'll do more Star Wars when we come back. And then the last day of the month, which is the 29th, we'll do our State of Star Wars. Like we do with Star Trek. We'll have our gallery of nerds. I don't know if we're going to have all the same people. We might try to mix it up a little bit. Some different
new
folks,
nerds,
different nerds to give different opinions. So we'll go there. But until then, those who we won't see up in Thai, of course, you always live long and prosper. May the Force be with you. If we'll see you in Thai, we'll see you in Thai. Good night, folks.